Hey guys, so the 90s were wild. There were two movies released in theaters in 1991 that dealt with the brutal devastation of the crack epidemic and the government policies that followed. One was thoughtful and nuanced, and the other one was New Jack City.
I'm gonna shoot you so bad, my dick's hard.
So, of course, the other movie I'm talking about is Boys in the Hood, but these movies couldn't be any further different from one another thematically, tonally, but even just the aesthetic itself. I describe New Jack City as being aggressively 90s. So, Boys in the Hood, you can tell it's a 90s movie, but New Jack City, it was like it knew where the 90s were going with style and was ahead of the curve, like years ahead. And I guess what I mean by this, if you think about it, like if you watch movies or even look at pictures, like people's, maybe the better example is looking at people's photo albums. If you look at people's photo albums from, let's say, 1981, 82, and then you look at photo albums from 1978, 79, 77, whatever, you can't really tell a big difference. A decade just doesn't instantly change. It takes like some time to transition to that decade. But New Jack City, it was like the Wayne Gretzky of 90s movies. It didn't go where the 90s are. It went to where the 90s were going to be with the over-the-top nature of it, with the exaggerated colors, with the style, just the excessiveness of it all. That's New Jack City. Okay, so the basic plot of this movie is that you have a team of cops who are trying to take down this drug lord. So the roster is stacked. It's got, so this is funny. It's got Ice-T playing a cop, which really isn't a big deal now because Ice-T's been playing a cop in Law and Order for like 40 years now or something like that. But the funny thing about this is that just a year after this movie is released, Ice-T's song by his rock metal group Body Count, they'll release this song Cop Killer, which was very controversial. Okay, so that's kind of weird. It's got Judd Nelson, who in my fan theory, because yeah, I'm a big fan of Judd Nelson, I guess, whatever. In my fan theory, he's this character from Breakfast Club who just cleaned himself up and became a cop. It's got Chris Rock playing a crackhead, which I'm not gonna lie. I may have seen Chris Rock in things before that. I'm sure I did. Maybe I'm Gonna Get You Suck Up. I don't know. But I was convinced that Chris Rock was actually a crackhead. Like he did this role of a crackhead way too well.
Calling me, man. Be calling me, man.
And of course, Mario Van Peebles, who was the director and the son of the legendary director Melvin Van Peebles. Also, not one, but two R&B singers. Keith Sweat pops up in it because why not? And Christopher Williams, because this movie's all about excess. And I'm leaving somebody out on purpose. Steals the show.
Sit your $5 ass down before I make change.
Now, there is the problem with this movie because Wesley Snipes is the biggest piece of shit in this movie, but he is so great. At one point, he uses a child as a human shield, but they give this man like the best lines of the movie. They make him so goddamn cool. And that's kind of the problem with this movie because you're looking at this and it's like, okay, you're supposed to hate this guy. He's got Keith Sweat at a wedding because that's what he has. He has like topless women packing cocaine for him in his facility or whatever. He's got like the best one-liners. He's a piece of complete shit, but it's hard not to like him in this movie.
Mr. Brown, are you pleased with the outcome?
Absolutely. I think the American justice system is the greatest in the world. Proud to be an American. Hi, Mom.
And I think that's one of the problems of this movie because by this point, you've got about 5 years, half a decade of crack just totally devastating communities. You look at the incarceration rates, you look at the murder rates, you look at the addiction rate, whatever, and it's skyrocketed. The crack epidemic was like the opiate epidemic, except well, the government really didn't care about black people, and instead of treating the people who were addicted to the drug like, like victims, they treated them like criminals, you know. But still, this very, very serious issue, and it's way too stylized, it's way too over the top, and it's kind of hard to take it serious. And that's kind of the problem with the movie. I Looking back at it now, I think this movie, if it were made today, it would probably be best suited to be a 4-part series on Netflix or something. But actually, if it were made today, it would probably just be The Wire. This whole thing of trying to get the perspective of all sides of law enforcement, of the people directly affected by the drugs, the addicts, the regular people, and then the criminals. But if you were to make this like I guess a version of The Wire with these characters, it would be it would just kind of be ridiculous. Like the cops are depicted as almost like the Avengers or something, and the bad guy, Wesley Snipes, is like a combination of Scarface, the Joker, and like a musician, like a world famous musician. It's just it's a very entertaining movie. I'll say that. It's a very entertaining movie, but there's I think there's a reason why people don't really talk about it that much, it seems. I don't know. But there's definitely some memorable scenes. Like I said, the previously mentioned picking up a child as a shield. There's the scene, like I already mentioned, of the women topless packing cocaine. I've seen this in other movies. I guess this is a thing, but they usually have bras on. But because this movie has to be aggressively 90s and over the top, this is the decade that brought us Leisure Suit Larry and Sonic the Hedgehog. It's got to be over the top. Just breasts, just bare breasts, just all out there. Just all out there, because why not? New Jack City. There you go.